Hello there and a very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Dasni Atada. Let's start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
Investigations are slow. Chief Prelate of the Malwatu chapter requests for perpetrators to be punished through a transparent process. Medical Association, who signed a petition against Dr. Rajitha, face issues in Kalutara. Doctors prepare for a strike in the district. Announcing of the presidential candidate and the launch of the 100-day program of the SLPP on the 11th.
අගෝස්තු මාසේ 11 වෙනිදා මේ මහා සමුළුවෙන් පස්සේ 12 වෙනිදා ඉඳලා ආරම්භ වෙනවා මේ ආණ්ඩුව අවසන් කිරීමේ දින 100 වැඩපිළිවෙල.
විපක්ෂ තියෙනවා 10ක් 12 මේ එකබදු විපක්ෂය. අපි එකතු වෙලා සාකච්ඡා කළා මේ ගැන තීරණයක් ගත්තේ නැහැ. එක එක්කෙනාගේ තනි තීරණ නෙමෙයි.
When will the UNP decide on a presidential candidate?
ජනාධිපති මැතිවරණය ගැසට් කරන්න ඕනේ කලින් තියෙනවා නම් ඉතින් ඒකෙන් පස්සේ අපි අපේ අපේක්ෂකයව ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න.
Minister Lakshman Kiriyala met with the chief prelate of the Malwatu chapter of the Siam sect, Most Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Sumangala Thera today.
CCTV හැමතැනම හයි කරනවද? පේනවද වටේට?
වහයි කරන්න ඕනේ අර හරියට මාර්ගයෙන් කුලද. ඒව මාර්ගයෙන් කරන්න.
දැන් බොහෝ දුරට
ඒක මාර්ගයෙන් කරන්න.
දැන් තොරතුරු උගක් ආවනේ. ඒ දැල කඩලා තියෙන්නේ. දැන් රස්තවාදීන්ගේ දැලක් තිබ්බනේ. ඒ දැල ඔක්කොම දැන් අත්අඩංගුවටවත් තියෙනවා. ආයිත් අවුරුද්දකින් ගහපාරේ අලුත් දැලක් හැදෙන්න පුළුවන්. නමුත් දැලට ඒක
මම කියන්නේ අනිත් මම දැක්කව කීප දෙනෙක්ම කියනවා මේක පැහැදිලිව නෑ තාම.
itu berarti dia boleh අවුරුදු දෙකල සාපකාමීව තිබ්බ අවුරුදු 10ක්
ඒකකින් දැනගන්න බැරිුණා දුරට ව්‍යාප්ත වෙලා යන ආණ්ඩු දෙකකින් එහෙම මොල්ගල් තිබ්බා මෙහෙන් ගොඩ නැගුණා දැන් විශ්වවිද්‍යාල ඉඳන් දීලා තියෙනවා ඔය
2013 දුන්නේ 2013 දුන්නේ ඉතින් රුපියල් මිලියන 3000ක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා ඒක හදන්න. පොත් පිටරේ සල්ලි එනකොට එන්න ඕන සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේ මහා බැංකුව හරහා. දැන් මේකට මුදල් එවලා තියෙනවා කොයින් ආවද කියලා මිලියන 3000
ගන්න බැරිුණා.
මිලියන 3000ක්.
ඒ වගේම තවමත් පරීක්ෂණ පවත්වන්නේ.
දැන් ඒක තමයි ඒක හෙලිදරව් වුණා. ඒක හෙලිදරව් වුණා ඒකේ කාර්ක සභාවේ ඒක හෙලිදරව් වුණා. දැන් ඒකට පරීක්ෂණ අද පත්‍රයේ සම්පූර්ණ විස්තර තියෙනවා. ඔව්.
Minister Lakshman Kiriyala officially handed over the CCTV security systems at the Malwatu temple, the Yaskiri temple and at the official residence of the Bishop of Kandy. This system has been granted by the Ministry of Kandyan Heritage and Kandy Development.
The Supreme Court today postponed to the 31st of July to decide whether or not it would grant permission to examine the fundamental rights petition filed by IGP Pujit Jayasundara, who was sent on compulsory leave. The petition was called up before Supreme Court Justices Prasanna Jayawardena, LTB Dehidenia and S. Thureraja this morning.
IGP Pujit Jayasundara is seeking an interim injunction against the order which was used to send him on compulsory leave. The IGP in his FR application seeks to be reinstated to service. In addition, Pujit Jayasundara requests the Supreme Court to issue an order citing his fundamental rights were violated by sending him on compulsory leave without a justifiable cause. Supreme Court Justice Prasanna Jayawardena said at first it must study the matter as to whether the President has the legal right to send the petitioner on compulsory leave and whether the President has used that power in a proper manner. The Supreme Court Justice noted that only after that a decision can be made as to whether permission can be granted to take up the petition for examination.
Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca expressed views regarding the Parliamentary Special Committee investigating into the April 21st attacks. The UNP parliamentarian, who is also a member of the PSC, was speaking at an event in Kelaniya.
Everyone who should be held accountable for the security of this country will be summoned. We will summon them and then we will also summon the president.
ඒගොල්ලෝ ගෙන්නලා ඊට පස්සේ අපි ජනාධිපතිත් ගෙන්නනවා.
ඔබතුමා හිතනවාද මේ ඔබතුමාලා ඔය කියන අග්‍රාමාත්‍යවරයා ඇතුළු ජනාධිපතිවරයාකට සහභාගී වෙයි කියලා?
ඒ තේරීම්කාරක මණ්ඩලයට බලය තියෙනවා ඒගොල්ලන්ට කැඳවන්න. ඒකට ඒගොල්ලෝ නොපැමිණියොත් ඒක නීති විරෝධී වැඩක්.
ඔබතුමා හිතනවාද මේ රටේ ඉන්න මේ අග්‍රාමාත්‍යවරයා ඇතුළු හිටපු ඇමතිවරු ඇත්ත කියේ කියලා?
දැනටම මෙච්චර දුරට
As per what has been said, the people have comprehended what the truth is. Now, if various people come forward and make various statements to cover up their mistakes, I don't think the people will believe them.
මං හිතන්නේ ජනතාව විශ්වාස කරයි කියලා.
හැබැයි මේ සිද්ධිය හරහා මේ අග්‍රාමාත්‍යවරයාවත් ගෙන්නන්න හදන්නේ මේ වෙන මොන හරි අග්‍රාමාත්‍යවරයා ඇතුළු එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයෙන් නිදොස් කරන්නද මේ සිද්ධිය?
මගේ පාර්ලිමේන්තු
I said this in my parliamentary speech as well. The Prime Minister too is responsible for this tragedy. I am still of this stance. Like the President is responsible for the security of the country, the Prime Minister too is responsible. We are not trying to save anyone here.
අපි කවුරුවත් බේරන්න හදන්නේ නැහැ මේකෙදි.
මේ වෙද්දී ඔබතුමාලා මේ කමිටියෙන් මොන වගේ දෙයක්ද දැනගත්තේ මේ?
අපි හුඟක් විනීතව
We have done this in a very transparent manner. You are aware as much as we are aware. The truth has been revealed as much as possible.
මේක ඇත්ත දැනටමත් එළි වෙලා තියෙනවා.
Doctors attached to government hospitals in the Kaluthara district launched a strike at 12 this afternoon after a tense situation at the premises of the Kaluthara hospital today.
A public petition against Health Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne was being signed at the premises of the Kaluthara District Hospital today. It was organised by the Government Medical Officers Association. While the signing of the petition was ongoing, a group, including the chairman of the Kaluthara Urban Council, Amir Nashil, and a Reverend Thera arrived at the location and protested against the GMOA. A tense situation erupted at the location. Police intervened and diffused the situation. Afterwards, a group, including the chairman of the Kaluthara Urban Council, held discussions with the director of the Kaluthara Hospital. No one can set up tables and get the signatures of people coming in, not even us. They can go on to the road and do anything they want. If they go on to the road, then we will go on to the road as well. And there will be an issue there, but that will be on the road.
The Government Medical Officers Association has begun a no-confidence motion of the people based on 10 allegations. This was initiated today at the premises of the Kaluthara Hospital. Minister Rajitha Senaratne has sent his thugs, members of the Pradesh Sabha and their thugs, and expressed their dissatisfaction shamelessly. The GMOA therefore decided to launch a strike action in the Kaluthara district immediately.
Meanwhile, the GMOA has also convened a media briefing this afternoon.
A group of Pradesh Sabha members, along with the chairman of the Pradesh Sabha, a group of thugs sent by Minister Rajitha Senaratne, broke into the Kaluthara hospital today. Rajitha Senaratne was shameless enough to send a group of thugs. We will begin our strike at 12 this afternoon, and we have not decided a time to call off the strike.
ඔබතුමාට වෙන ක්‍රමයක් තියෙනවා නම් අපිට කියන්න රාජිත මුත්මත් එක මේක විසඳ ගන්න.
A new lubricant blending plant was declared open by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe today.
The new plant has been built within the lubricant stock storage terminal of the Petroleum Corporation premises in Muthurajavela. This factory, which has the capacity of manufacturing 5,000 litres of lubricant, was built at a cost of 5,260 million rupees. We paid loans in the first year with great difficulty, and while doing that, we paid salaries. Now the economy is recovering. We still have to take more loans, but we have also more to pay. In the last 2 months, we needed $2,000 million. Today, that $2,000 million is demanded for in New York and London. Many said not to go there, that after the Easter Sunday attacks, they will not recover the money. That isn't over. The markets in the US have not closed yet. Tomorrow you will be surprised by how many people still have confidence in Sri Lanka. We have now taken the loans we need for the next few months to fix the economy, even if we are subject to criticism. Now the task is to develop this country rapidly in the next 5 years. We must bring in technology-based industries. We must develop the Colombo port and make this a regional hub. We will begin this process. This plant was built through a joint venture between the Petroleum Corporation and a Malaysian company.
U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo arrived in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia today for talks amid heightened tensions with Iran.
America has to withdraw from Diego Garcia in the Chagos Islands. They have selected Sri Lanka as their base for military operations. As the next phase of this program to use our country, they have presented the SOFA agreement. Although they say State Secretary Pompeo will not come to the country and sign the agreement, his assistant, Mr. Cooper, is said to be coming to the country. Even if he signs or Pompeo signs, it will have the same effect. America says they have the right to forcibly enter a country even without the consent of the government and fight ISIS in their dive against international terrorism. The ideal situation for this program has not been created with this terror attack.
They are now hoping to give a new name for the SOFA agreement and bring it forward as a new proposal. It has been named as the Visiting Forces Agreement. Will our country be afforded the same benefits in America? This is a one-sided agreement.
I had an opportunity to attend the Security Council. I went and asked about the AXA agreement. When I asked about it, Tilak Marapana said it is not something new. Then we showed him that this agreement does not have a time frame. I then said present it to Parliament, but they did not submit it during the last sessions. None of us have seen this agreement, but they have already signed it.
Is it not a legal requirement to present this agreement to Parliament, the body that exercises the sovereignty of the people? Shouldn't the people who bend the law and act illegally to further their own goals be punished regardless of their positions?
Who will be the candidates of the upcoming presidential election? Main political parties are yet to announce their presidential candidates. Political activists of the Podujana Peramuna expressed the following views in this regard.
So far, it has been stated that Gotabaya Rajapaksa will be the next presidential candidate. However, Mahinda Rajapaksa will officially confirm this. Everyone's making predictions. However, it is only on the 11th of August that we can see whose predictions are accurate. Starting from today, there is only another 148 days for the presidential elections. The presidential candidate from the Podujana Peramuna will be announced at the party's convention on the 11th of August. From the 12th of August, we will launch the 100-day action plan to end the present government.
ආරම්භ වෙනවා මේ ආණ්ඩුව අවසන් කිරීමේ දින 100 වැඩපිළිවෙල.
Announcing the stance of the Podujana Peramuna does not abide by the principles of political discipline. For the past 4.5 years, it is with great sacrifice that we expanded our collaboration with 13 registered parties and multiple unions and reached where we are today. As the Podujana Party, we believe that we must proceed following discussions with fellow parties of the joint opposition.
මේ අපේ ඒකාබද්ධ විපක්ෂ සහෝදර පක්ෂත් එක්කත් මේක සාකච්ඡා කරන්නට ඕන. එතෙන්ට යන්නට ඕනි කියලා.
We are yet to discuss regarding the presidential candidate from our party. Many have revealed several names as the candidate. On the other hand, we are yet to form our alliance. We hope to hold discussions with Mahinda Rajapaksa this week.
ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයාව ජනාධිපති තුල අපේක්ෂකයන් විදිහට නම් කරනවා කියලා. දැන් ඔබතුමා කියනවා තාම එහෙම
නෑ අපි සාකච්ඡා කළා.
No, we are yet to meet and hold discussions and make a decision. This decision will be a collective one.
එක එක්කෙනාගේ තනි තීරණ නෙමෙයි.
වැදගත් කාරණයක් තියෙනවා.
There's an important point to note. It is the opposition leader, Mahinda Rajapaksa's statement, that is important.
තුමාගේ ප්‍රකාශය තමයි වැදගත්.
ඒ නායකයා තීරණයක් ගන්න අපි ඔක්කොම එක්ක කතා කළා. ඒ අර පුදුජන පක්ෂයනේ. ඒක අපේ සම්මේලනයක් නෙමෙයි.
තාම සංවිධානය වෙලා නැහැ. තාම අපේක්ෂකයෙක් නැහැ. තාම නිසි විධිමත් සාකච්ඡාවක් නැහැ. ඉතින් මෙතන පොඩි ගැටලුවක් තියෙනවා.
මොනවද සහෝදරයා ගැටලුවක්?
What do you mean by an issue? The government brought in a new act recently for underutilized assets. If we decided to defeat that act and 32 members were absent, we will be defeated by 22.
දෙදෙනෙක් ආවේ නැහැ. අපි පරාද වෙන්නේ 22කින්.
Do not debate over the presidential candidate. We will put forward a patriotic, people-sensitive and understanding candidate.
ජනතාවගේ ප්‍රශ්න පිළිබඳ අවබෝධයක් තියෙන කෙනෙක් තමයි සංවේදී පුද්ගලයෙක් අපි දානවා.
Who is the candidate? Is it somebody known or unknown?
What is the opinion on the United National Party's potential presidential candidate? Here are some views that were expressed today.
Why are they putting forward a candidate that will definitely win? Is Mahinda Rajapaksa fearful that he has candidates that may lose? They have still not been able to say which Rajapaksa is contesting the presidency. Is it Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Basil Rajapaksa, Chamal Rajapaksa or Shiranti Rajapaksa? In the past, Gotabaya Rajapaksa prepared himself, even saying after the bombs that he will be president, but unknowingly, he has slipped down the slope. That candidate is chosen by Mahinda Rajapaksa's family. This is not the case in our party. We will present our candidates, but first, put forward your candidate. We are ready to present the candidate accordingly. We want a new candidate. We want someone new, who will punish thieves in both the former and the current government. In both 2010 and 2015, we were unable to present a UNP candidate at the presidential election. This is the party that gave freedom to this country and one that did the largest service. We must put forward a lone UNP candidate this time. All the parties that love this country will come together and appoint a common candidate. It could be Minister Sajith Premadasa. We will make the most suitable person the presidential candidate of the UNP. Ranil Wickremesinghe or myself do not have the ability to make that decision. That person will be selected at the appropriate moment by the working committee. Even Daya Gamage can contest the presidential election and win. There are several people in the UNP who are suitable to contest. However, from the Flowerbud party, it will only be a person from the Rajapaksa family. We will have to wait and see. It will be decided by the working committee. We will announce it at the correct time. Even all of you must be left in some suspense. The elections commissioner has not asked for that candidate to be nominated. There is nothing for the UNP to panic about. As the ruling party at present, the president has to gazette the presidential election. We will move forward with our candidate thereafter.
ඒකෙන් පස්සේ අපි අපේ අපේක්ෂකයව ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න.
ඒකනේ හංගලින්.
සාමාන්‍ය හංගපුවාම තමයි මේකේ වටිනා.
Who is the candidate? Is it somebody known or unknown?
Speaking in Puttalam today, Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Minister Sajith Premadasa, expressed these views.
When the people appoint the leaders of a country, the leaders must understand that we are the servants of the general public. We who serve the people are the servants of the people. Instead of working like the servants of the people, there is a group who acts like they are the owners of the country. Remember, in the future you will have to make a decision on this issue of being the servant of the people and the owners of the country. When you are voting, if you identify the servant true to your conscience, they will serve the country. The public funds will be donated to over 22 million people in the country. If you appoint the owners of the country, they will first think of what they can do for themselves. How am I going to secure the future of my child after me? How do I get the deed of the country written to my family after this? I would like to request each and every one of you to identify the owner and the servant properly.
The 206th and 207th villages constructed under the 77 Yali Pipidenuda Gammana program was declared open today. The two model villages named Ayyanarpuram and Barrister Nainamarikar constructed in Manathev and Vanathavillua in the Puttalam district. 44 houses were constructed at a cost of 50.4 million rupees.
The 18th and 19th constitutional amendments were discussed in the political arena today.
There were no issues with the 18th Amendment when we were in power. He contributed to the 18th Amendment as well. He was also part of the 19th Amendment. It is good. He understood that the 19th Amendment is defective after 4.5 years. The entire country is in a mess now. The president was more keen on this amendment than all of us. If he is saying that there are flaws in it, then the Parliament and the Constitutional Council should consider it. Nothing is certain. Everything changes. If there are some flaws, they can be changed. There is no problem there. When the 19th Constitutional Amendment was challenged in court, the Supreme Court decided that if the entire amendment was to be implemented, it must be approved by the people in a public referendum. After 4.5 years, we are extremely happy that the President too has come to the same stance that we hold. But we can in no way agree with the statement made by the President on the 18th Amendment. The 19th Amendment did not end the executive presidency properly. It should be amended completely. It is not a complete amendment. So there should be more amendments that should be brought in. The 19th Amendment is an interim measure. All of us want to go towards a parliamentary system. All of us think that we do not need an executive presidential system. The tactic that the Prime Minister is using to reduce the powers of the President and increase his powers is something separate. But as far as policy goes, the 19th Amendment is an important piece of legislation in the transition towards a parliamentary system. The 19th Amendment should be abolished, but that is not the main issue here. The main issue in the country is the rift inside the government. Many politicians from the government and opposition are now criticizing the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. Even Dr. Jayampathy Vikramaratne, who was at the forefront in drafting the 19th Amendment, publicly admitted that the 19th Amendment to the Constitution is flawed. However, we pointed out the flaws in the 19th Amendment when it was initially presented before the people. The articles that sought to suppress free media were removed from the draft after we took the matter to court. Did the experts who drafted the 19th Amendment at the time not foresee the ill effects it could have on the country?
The Presidential Commission probing large-scale fraud and corruption at state institutions during the past 4 years issued summons on Minister of Education Akila Viraj Karyavasam. The minister was summoned over a complaint concerning the printing of a colour photograph of the minister on textbooks given to school students.
Notices were issued to the minister to provide a statement to the police unit of the commission on the 1st of July. And summons were also issued for the minister to provide evidence before the commission on the 8th of July. The former Commissioner of Educational Publications, who is currently serving as the Director of the Educational Supplies Division, provided evidence before the commission today. He said that Minister Akila Viraj Karyavasam had persistently urged him to publish a message along with his photograph in textbooks distributed among school students. The Director of the Educational Supplies Division had pointed out that although he informed the minister that this was highly inappropriate, the minister had said, as a young minister, this is invaluable for his political career.
The government has launched a sale of 5- and 10-year sovereign bonds in international markets for the second time this year.
According to Bloomberg, Sri Lanka has launched a sale of 5- and 10-year sovereign bonds in international markets for the second time in 2019. It adds that Citi, Deutsche Bank, HSBC, JP Morgan, SMBC, Nikko, Standard Chartered and BOC International are managing this sale. Bloomberg Newswire said initial price guidance was 6.6% for 5-year bonds and 7.8% for 10-year bonds. During the central bank's monetary review in May, officials said that the government was planning to sell approximately $2.5 billion in bonds to finance cash flows in the 2019 budget. The latest issuance comes in the wake of a $2.4 billion bond issuance in March this year. Now, how does this latest bond issuance stack up against Sri Lanka's debt situation? In March this year, the central bank issued $1 billion of 5-year bonds at 6.85% and $1.4 billion 10-year fixed rate bonds with maturity dates in March 2024 and March 2029 respectively. Following the bond issuance in March, the government was criticized for issuing ISBs at interest rates higher than several regional countries, while certain politicians called for increased transparency in the bond issuance process. The sovereign bonds issued in March this year mark Sri Lanka's 13th US dollar benchmark offering in the international bond market since 2007. At an estimated 83% of its gross domestic product, Sri Lanka's central government debt level is high. As the country approached upper middle income status, it has been borrowing on more commercial terms with increased cost and risk. The majority of foreign currency denominated debt is now largely made up of market borrowings, including international sovereign bonds and Sri Lanka development bonds, which in 2017 accounted for 53%, up from just 3% of total foreign currency denominated debt in 2000. While the government has adopted policies designed to address these risks, the slow progress of key structural reforms remains a cause for concern. The central government debt to GDP ratio increased to 82.9% at end 2018 from 76.9% at end 2017. The total outstanding central government debt stock increased by 16.1% to approximately 11.9 trillion rupees at end 2018. Total debt service payments in 2018 amounted to 2 trillion rupees, a substantial increase of 30.3% in comparison to 1.6 trillion rupees in 2017.
Sensational details have emerged on People's Bank's non-performing loans portfolio.
In the backdrop of the government's proposal as revealed by the JVP yesterday to amend the People's Bank Act No. 9 of 1961 presented by the Minister of Finance on the 24th of May 2019, details have emerged of the astonishing level of the People's Bank's non-performing loans portfolio. WM Mendes and Company have a non-performing loan portfolio amounting to 2,912,698,746 rupees and 46 cents. The latest addition to their non-performing portfolio is 25 million rupees. The total balance of the non-performing loan portfolio of all borrowers over 5 million rupees amounts to 31,459 million. A close examination of the list released recently reveals that political patronage has far from diminished. Amongst the list of borrowers over the 5 million limit include several big-name corporates who have a history of being politically exposed. By far, the largest non-performing category would appear to be WM Mendes and Company. By contrast, the Presidential Commission of Inquiry found that the losses of the EPF-ETF was a staggering 8,500 million rupees. The Presidential Commission of Inquiry also found that subject to legal proceedings, Perpetual Treasuries Limited would face a potential liability of 17,000 million rupees. The country was treated to the resignation of the former Defence Secretary Mr. Hemasiri Fernando from that position post events of 21st April. However, information revealed via an RTI application that the former Defence Secretary retains a position within the People's Bank Group, as does the controversial businessman Jehan Amaratunga of MTD Walker's fame. Analysts point out that at the People's Bank, the original act was to ensure a low-risk banking facility to fund the people's projects like agriculture, and as a safe facility to hold the general public's hard-earned money. It is with this noble purpose that People's Bank came to be. An analysis of the total exposure of the People's Bank, including advances made to several state-owned enterprises and favoured corporates and individuals, reveals the dire straits the People's Bank finds themselves in. The non-performing positions as at 31st December 2017 was 19,574 million in comparison to its position as at 31st of December 2018 of 31,459 million. Are these high-risk advances being made to deliberately push the People's Bank towards a point of no return that would lead the government to consider the privatization of the People's Bank, perhaps to people waiting in the wings? This would then fit nicely, bringing to a conclusion what the JVP claims is the diktat of international agencies like the International Monetary Fund.
Now finally in sports news, it's news from the ICC Cricket World Cup. Now the match between Bangladesh and Afghanistan is currently underway at Rose Bowl Stadium. Batting first, Bangladesh scored 262 for 7. Chasing the target, Afghanistan were on 122 for the loss of 5 wickets at the end of 34 overs. And that's a wrap of primetime news for tonight. For the News First team, I'm Dasni Atalda. Good night.